whatever you want, but your time's up, Breakup King! Now! Kizuna Beast! Kizuna Beast! Is, I'm not alone. I carry the power of friendship and the hopes of everyone in the world who believes in the promise of bonds! It lives within me! I've heard enough! Your time is up! Prepare to meet your maker! You think I care about that? I'll protect the bonds of this world! Even if I go down with you! May you protect the bonds, friends. Farewell.
Overall, you having a good night so far?
I'm doing okay. I just got off work and chilled out a little bit before this and hanging on in there. Just been busy.
Sometimes being productive can help.
I concur. I would agree.
It does.
How about yourself?
I'm doing fine, man. Thing is,
Yeah.
I'm still. That's not the only thing I'm upset about. I'm also upset that. Yeah, have you heard of the Batman Arkham trilogy?
Yeah, the video games.
Yeah, as you see, I got these pop figures and that up there.
Oh yeah,
See it?
yeah, dude, I love the games. Yeah,
Thing is, when I started playing Arkham Knight, the graphics were terrible.
yeah.
Like they were bad. Like it was bad. Like you can't make this up. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick to the Xbox. Nintendo Switch 2, I'm just gonna stick to the Mario games. So, but yeah, the graphics on Arkham Knight was terrible.
Yeah.
So you get it. But
Yeah,
I guess as we can let's but enough about Batman. Let's get this thing started. So
Sure.
So my name is Phil. I'm the host of the Conversation Podcast, and tonight I have a special guest with me. Introduce yourself. Who's Ethan Condon I'm speaking to tonight?
Absolutely. Well, as you said, my name is Ethan Condon. I am a voice actor. I work with Crunchyroll, and you've probably heard me in a couple things, such as Red Ranger Isekai, where I do play Red or Togo Asagaki, the Red Ranger. You might have also heard me in my other lead show, Onmyo Kaiten Rebirth Verse. We just finished that up last season, where I play Narihira Takeru, who's this very abrasive fighter punk kind of guy. Or my most recent announcement in Gachi Akata as Shikage, the Invincible Shut-In. But that's about maybe a quarter of who I am. The voice acting stuff is rare. It's very rare.
Hey, I saw that announcement. You're gonna do wonderful, man.
I appreciate it. It was very fun.
Appreciate
That post already is like, it's already like blown up more than any of my leads, which is very funny how that works out. But I'm always appreciative nonetheless. I'm glad people are enjoying Gachi Akata so far. I'm catching up with it right now, so I'm not even up to my episode yet.
Nothing wrong with catching up before the main event.
Oh yeah.
So now, before we get started, let's go into a little icebreaker here. So, I have one little question for you. What's like one of your most favorite lines? What's one of your favorite lines in any of the anime roles that you voiced?
Oh, I think I have two. And they're both so far for my leads because they were both very explosive energy wise. But first one is always going to be my little Red Ranger roll call, like transformation, burning brightly, the warrior of feverish friendship, Kizuna Red. And then I had a line for Onmyo Kaiten, and it was on the very last episode. To me is a very cool line, but it was like, who's the greatest, or who could beat me? No one. I'd have to pull up that line. I've only seen it like once, but I remember recording for it, and it was very much the case where I was like, this one's got to go in the demo reel. I need to put that in there. But yeah, off the top of my head, it's always going to be Kizuna Red's roll call.
Okay, okay. Well, hey, you had to make sure you had a very special moment with that line. Make sure it feels like a special pleasure. Let the fire blaze.
Absolutely. Especially
So
with Power Rangers.
there you go.
Tokusatsu, yeah. Gotta get it done.
Okay, okay. So the way I've done this, since I've done a lot of research on you,
Oh
there's 20
man.
questions, and there's
Okay.
5 questions in each section.
I
So,
like it. Let's do it.
and then there's some deep dives too. So I want to pick your brain for real.
Alrighty. I will babble on as much as I can about it.
There you go. There you go. All right. So let's go ahead and start with section 1 on personal growth and heritage.
Mhm.
Now, growing up Filipino-American, as you described yourself in
Mhm.
one of your descriptions, how did your heritage shape your perspective and creative voice?
Uh well, on the side of Filipino, I being honest, it's been new. Very, very new thing. I growing up like with my mother and father, and my father's where I get my Filipino side from. I we my parents did not stay married, right? So I don't know him too much. I don't know my dad too much. I've hung out with them not too long ago, maybe about a year or two ago. But and not only that, I got to meet a lot of my family from that Filipino side, and that's just for me. That it was honestly a bit of a culture shock. I'm not used to that. You hear it in my voice. I'm very Southern. I'm from East Texas, and so that's mostly how I grew up. Um, but seeing kind of you know people people around me that also share that heritage and what they do has been what helps strive or helps me strive forward and continuing and explore that side. And Sean Gann, who's a director at Crunchyroll as well as a voice actor, he's also Filipino, and him and I have had very brief conversations about it, mostly in passing. And it's been interesting to say the least. But I wouldn't claim it's been a huge impact on me, at least not yet. I hope for it to be. I know uh, I've had some messages from uh, people expressing their excitement with probably my first lead, where they were like, yeah, we love to see the Filipino representation. And I'm always going to be appreciative of anyone that uh, finds that sort of inspiration within me. But I would say for me, it's very much the case where I'm really trying to learn a lot more about that side of me. Um, I don't know much, unfortunately. I did not grow up around it. I met my grandmother again during that time, like a year, almost 2 years ago, and uh, she's this tiny little Filipino woman, and she's this absolute sweetheart, and that was very eye opening to me. It was a great time. This is a great time. Um, yeah, I would. That's probably where I would stop babbling about it right there.
It's okay. It's nice that you open up, like, because I
Yeah,
know it was a lot. Because I know you had to move around a bit. Parents were not staying together.
yeah.
Listen, when I come across someone who's like has heritage, because thing is, I talked to someone previously about wanted to talk to the voice actor's heritage.
Mhm.
I think you're familiar with Mauricio Tistagera. I talked to him. I
With your
talked to him.
what?
I think you're familiar with Mauricio Tistagera. He's the
Yeah,
last person
yeah.
I
I
talked
love.
to.
Yeah, Mauricio and I are great friends. I love that dude. He's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I talked to him about understanding his sense. I asked him about his Mexican
Mhm.
heritage. I'm doing the same
Yeah.
with you. Thing is, every voice actor who comes from different sides of the globe, they
Mhm.
have like different heritage. They like you have like people like Emmy Lowe, who's a Vietnamese
Right.
voice actor, and
Yeah.
it's very interesting because now I'm starting to understand these people and their different backgrounds. Listen, Ethan, back in high school, it was all entertainment for me. I was watching the shows. I was high school, but now that
That's me
I'm
too.
25. Now that I'm 25 now, I'm starting to get older and wiser and understand you guys' perspective. And
Yeah.
it's nice that I get a chance is to have these kind of conversations with y'all so I can understand where you guys are coming from.
100%. And I'll say like I said, I really didn't experience like heritage side of that growing up, and a lot of it for me was just I just grew up mainly as the white kid. I if anyone was, I don't know what you would just call it, like perceptive enough to see there's a little more in me. They weren't sure where. They're like, he's got something else in him. I'm not sure if it's like if he's Mexican or if he's something else. I don't know, some Hispanic origin. And it's like, you're not like dead off if you know anything about like Filipino history, which we, depending on the time frame, we were conquered by Spain. Maybe conquered's not the correct word, but Spain had us. I think China had us for a good time, and then the U.S. had us the most recently. I know Japan, I think, had us for like, I don't know, a year and some change during World War II. Yeah, so there's quite a few different areas that have influenced the Philippines, and it's like I said, it's still something I'm learning about. But yeah, it was very much the case where I didn't really have that connotation associated with me much, just because I don't look it. I'm not, my skin's not darker. Because I'm a gremlin and I stay inside all the time. So it's like white, just pasty white. I need to get outside more. But yeah, I just typically don't have that connotation. I don't typically. So
I understand. I'm saying sometimes, sometimes you guys don't want to be too open about everything, and I can respect that too. But if y'all can share even a little piece of information that I can gain and learn from, learning is a never-ending process.
Oh yeah,
so every day you learn something new, and that's what I'm trying to do with you guys. As I talk to more and more people like you, Ethan, more voice actors who have come from different backgrounds, no matter who it is, whether you're you're S-class 8, it doesn't matter. Like, you guys are still human with a lot of stories to tell.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I love coming on these things. I love talking with people.
Number 2, were there any early experiences in school, community, or family that influenced your love for storytelling?
I would say so. I think not so much in school. I never came from like a theater background. I've taken theater classes before in JUCO and even in high school I took some, but predominantly I was in choir, a lot of choir stuff, a lot of choral. I've always been big into music, and music is in its own sense storytelling. It's another form of it, especially depending on what you listen to. And of course I'm country, I'm very hick, and so a lot of it is like country music, but I always preferred old country music, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Charlie Daniels, people like them, and which led me to listen more to like more folk music. There's people like Ryan Adams, Jason Isbell. Jason Isbell's not technically folk, but he's got some folkish kind of songs. He's more country, but yeah, you have some people like that, and that was always a big influence to me with how those stories are conveyed, and mainly when it came to where we bring in the acting side of it is with the content, watching media, watching whether it be animations on YouTube, because I was always watching something on YouTube, or anime. I was a huge anime nerd, and I say nerd obviously in a polite way. I love anime obviously, but I started at 15 watching anime and drawing in that kind of content, and it just kind of skyrocketed from there. Watching old school, like I started with a show called Blood Plus, which I don't know how many people would know that one, Blood Plus, and then Blue Exorcist before it had a dub, and before any of that stuff, I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z, and I didn't know that was anime. I didn't know what the word anime was. I was like, this is really cool. These guys are like fighting and they like zip around and fly. This is awesome. And that was like majority of my childhood watching that. So I think that those definitely are, what would you say? I guess just where those things like kind of came together. And at 15 when I started to look at things that I was interested in. I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I kind of like this voice acting stuff. I see people do. See what I can do to get into it, and I just started doing stuff online, and that only helped help facilitate how I would go about acting in general, and where I would continue to draw media from. And I watched a lot more anime, and heck, I don't really think on camera movies was too big of an influence to me. Probably they were, but I wouldn't consciously know. Yeah, like one doesn't really stand out to mind. Usually it's animation that stands out to mind. And then with regards to family, or community, you know, I think every actor would agree to some capacity. Your living situation where you grew up is always going to have some sort of impact. You're not going to know until, or maybe you do know, maybe you just kind of know off the top of your head. I wouldn't say I know until it comes to a scene where all of a sudden you're watching a scene that you're about to record in the booth, and something gets invoked in you, and all of a sudden you're experiencing these feelings, whether positive or negative, and you're just like, where did that come from? And maybe you do find that connection, maybe you don't, but I certainly have had a few moments, a few where it's been like, wow, that was a bit more than I expected from a scene that you might not have expected. But yeah, I wish I had more. That's a great question. I wish I did have at least more to recognize from family and community, because I bet there is. We're always taking in influence from everything around us, no matter what, whatever you're listening to, watching, speaking to people, kind of like you said, learning stuff from other people in conversation. You're always pulling stuff from people, and as a performer, you might throw it in your next thing. You might throw it in your next performance, whatever it might be.
I agree. And listen, everyone has to start somewhere. I think for me, like my whole love for pop culture, it wasn't an anime. It all started for me when I watched Batman the Animated Series, like back in the day. I know I was born in 2000, so I watched some of the stuff on Keys WB. But yeah, that's where my love for pop culture started. And lately throughout the years, I started to understand what's this thing they call anime now. So thing is, yeah, I actually watched the first episode of Sonic X, which was like Sonic the Hedgehog anime style. I think you remember that show. So I started to understand, okay, this is what people are watching these days. I need to do more research on it. Then it was Dragon Ball Z, of course. But yeah, I think what happens was, people bullied me in school and all that stuff, called me a nerd and all that stuff. I did get punched in the face once, but it was.
And isn't that so wild too? That's how I never got personally treated like that, but coming out of high school and hearing kind of what I like through the grapevine, heard some of my like old classmates like talk about me, and like, oh, that Ethan guy, yeah, he's really weird in high school. I didn't dislike him, but like that's the most I got it, where people just thought I was weird, and I was like, okay. But now you look in schools and like everyone watches anime. It's some anime, they're watching something, JJK, Gachiakuta, Demon Slayer, they're watching something now, and it's like, come on guys, we were doing this before.
Exactly. And listen, that didn't stop me from what I had to do today. Went to school, got education, got some degrees, went back to school about to be done with cybersecurity.
Nice.
So I'm just trying to add something extra to my palette. So I've been doing a lot of stuff, started this. I've just been doing a lot these last 6 months. Been doing research. I've been reading more. I started a Substack. just
There you go.
I'm just trying to stay productive. But I think everyone has their own way of starting things. Some of you guys, these voice actors, you guys like to sing song. Y'all like, because I know a few voice actors like Abby Trott, Katie Mills, they all started like in anime because they like producing songs and they just produce songs themselves. They're both singers.
Yeah,
So
they're fantastic.
the more I do research on you guys, the more I want to be like, man, I just want to talk to them for a few minutes and prick their minds, understand how they got from point A to point B, even if it's for 15 minutes, just a few minutes of your time.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I like talking with people too, and you never know what you're going to pull out of a conversation. Truly, you really don't know. It's been a big part of how I've been able to. I would assume I am fairly good at talking with people. I've always worked a job where I have to seriously talk with people and pull information, and they have to pull information from me, vice versa. So I always like stuff like this, talks like these. They're great, especially when it's stuff you and I both love.
We got to keep talking about these things,
Yeah.
and to be honest, basically what I'm doing is kind of like therapy a little bit. It feels like therapy.
But yeah.
It kind of feels like it. The more like, I know I'm doing my own thing, but yeah, it feels like therapy.
Well, what is therapy but deep understanding conversations? You're really picking at each other's brain. So 100%.
Yeah. And listen, Ethan, don't judge me, but I did get emotional in one of my videos back then. I did cry a little.
That's okay. It's all right.
So it
That's
was a very emotional story, and I just couldn't hold back my emotions.
That's no big deal. No big deal. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all.
So
100%.
let's see. Number 3, how do you balance cultural identity with navigating the US anime industry?
Balancing cultural identity with navigating
the US anime voice acting industry. I forgot to finish the rest of that.
No, you're good. I don't think I truly know. I think that's a very high level question, and which is awesome. And I think it's there. You can break that question, which I'm not trying to, but you could break that question into multiple facets of, well, what do I do about it? I'll give you that answer in just a second. What do I do about it? Or what is the industry way that they deal with that, which that is its own answer, or how do we feel about it from and I don't care to talk about this one, but from a political standpoint, right? I don't know. This is a very high level question, but how do I deal with it or navigate through with it, right? Is what kind of when we discussed earlier about like, yeah, it's a side of me that obviously I've had with since I've been alive, but unfortunately, I just don't know a lot about that side of my culture. And it's always something I am trying to gain more knowledge through, whether it be through my family or those I call friends that are also, from the Philippines or have Filipino heritage. That's always something I'm going to pursue and learn. I try not to let it be an extremely leading factor to the degree that I can control it. Right. I mean, it's like, I can't help being what I was born as, but it's like, I am always trying to do my performances purely based off of my life experience and where I come from and what I learn. And I try to keep it like that, but certainly you're never going to hear me complain if you have, individuals and I get hesitant to use the word fans. I don't think I'm at that level and I don't think I'm at that level to say I have fans. I'm sure I have people that admire my work and I always appreciate that. But if those individuals feel inspired by that fact and more power to them. I'm glad that's something I can be for them. And, you really can do it. And don't let anything stop you from doing it, whatever that might be, whether it is voice acting, whether it's writing a book, creating mangas, art in general, or whatever your dream might be. I mean, staying committed to it, committed to the passion, doing it for the love of the game. That's what's going to propel you forward, in my opinion. That is what's truly going to propel you forward. When it comes to the industry itself, of course, I don't think it's any secret that widespread everywhere here in the U.S. is we are obviously trying to expand, POC opportunity and get that in there. And I love seeing that, particularly when it comes to our anime, like where you find that. I think it's funny, we just talking about Gachi Yakuta has such a diverse cast, and it's not the only show that has a diverse cast, obviously, but that one is where, and I know the director personally, he's a great friend of mine, Lee George. He has really brought a wonderful group of people to play their roles, and incorporating a lot of modern day slang that I think has set that dub apart from, anything within the last five years. I mean, I think it's been a kick-ass show, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it. And gosh, man, just some really talented people working on that stuff. But the navigating question of it is just certainly like, man, I try to just stay in my lane. I try to stay in my lane, control the things I can control, and the things that I can't, just leave it up to that. There's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth for that long one. But yes, I do agree, because I was going to say, it doesn't matter what you are, where you come from, as long as you just make sure you do what you have to do to be successful.
Right. And pursue those passions that you have. I mean, it sounds like you do as well. And that's awesome. I mean, that's super, super bad to the bone. I like to curse a lot. Just for clarification. I love cursing.
That's why I have a slogan: filters, no filters.
Well, hell yeah. Well, I think it's badass. I think, going out of your way, pursuing further education where you can, and it doesn't have to be purely, I got to go back to college. I thought about going back to college. I just don't see the point for me. I do have a college degree. I just never, for me, saw the purpose in getting a master's. Hell, my degree has nothing to do with any job that I've worked. I don't think I've used my degree purely in its purest form ever for a job that I've done, especially not here in voice acting. Like, no way. Has nothing to do with this stuff. But you're always wanting to pursue what you can, man. Get further, whether it be, it's like, no, I want my educational prowess, at top form, or nah, man, I want to pursue the arts and deep dive into that stuff. Go for it, do what you love. I think so. I think that's always the way.
Yeah, always do what you love. Like I said, it's a big universe. Just need to know where you need to start looking.
Right.
So, we're almost at the end of this section. Only 2 questions left. Then we'll be in section 2. What's a personal lesson from your heritage that you carry into your work and daily life?
Personal lesson, I would say, man, that's a good question. You're hitting me with stuff like I'm like, man, I really haven't thought of it like that, have I? But I think
I come with receipts.
No, it's good. That's good. I like it. I think a personal here you go. Here's a good one, and it's very much in line with how we've been discussing already. There's just a lot that we don't know as individuals. There's a lot more that we can learn. There's a lot more that we can pursue and learn, with passion behind, and that is something I always strive and put that on, not just with voice acting, because when it comes to the voice acting, like no one is ever done learning. We're always learning in our business, like no matter what. We're always learning in our craft, learning in the field, learning the business side, all of it. It don't stop. It don't stop till we stop. And I apply that just about in anything I pursue, you know, especially I work 2 jobs, and I think on my whoever made my wiki thing, my fandom wiki thing, they have on there that I'm a veterinarian technician, which that's like mostly true. I mean, I am right now, but like there was a good like 2 years where I wasn't, and I was like, I'm not going to bother with telling about it. But like I got back into the game, and so now I do that as well, and like that's a medical field where you don't stop learning, and I think that's a great mentality no matter what. I mean, if you're super connected with your family history or your family's culture, you know, even if you feel like you know it, you know, front and back, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day you're always going to find either a new way to express it or a new way to incorporate it into your lives, no matter what, at least if you are of the opinion to pursue. I think that's where you'll find what would you call it? I think that's where you'll find you'll just continue your growth no matter what.
Exactly. Continue to grow, and sometimes, some people like your story may not have a happy beginning at first,
Sure.
but look how it all turned out. I mean,
100%.
Great stuff. You're doing what you're doing now. You like it. You're connecting with a lot of people, and it's working.
Absolutely. Well, and I get to do what I love, and not very many people get to say that, unfortunately. And so I always am quite thankful for where I am today, because I did not think I'd be doing this when I was 15. Had no idea. I was doing it for the love of the game. I was just like, this is cool. This is fun. Let's keep doing it.
Hey, never say never.
There you go.
Last question. Looking back, what moment made you realize you wanted to pursue voice acting seriously?
There you go. I would say I think it was in 2022, towards the end. I went to this convention in Dallas, and there was an ADR. There was like an ADR panel, and I don't remember who hosted it. It was for me a good while back, right? It was an ADR panel, and they would have the crowd, like they would have them line up and be like, hey, if you've ever wanted to see how anime dubbing is like what that's like, we have it here, and here's some scenes from shows you might know, and so I went up there, and bear in mind, I've been doing this on my own, basically zero training. I took a class or two, but basically zero training, just trial and error. I went up there and dubbed a little scene, and the person there was like, hey, you seem a little different. You seem like you feel comfortable. You know what you're doing. I'm like, I've never done that shit before, but I've done some acting, right? Okay, cool. And we talked a little more, and I feel like after that, it certainly was where I was like, man, I don't know, maybe I ought to look at this a little more seriously. Because I unfortunately have I call it a happy burden, but I get on a tangent with like almost like monthly tangents of new stuff I like doing. Like there was a time where like a good solid 3 or 4 months, I was into traditional archery and just started shooting bows, traditional bows like recurves, and I got into that for a hot minute. There's another time where I got into pipe tobacco, like old school, like pipe tobacco. And I still like it, but it's been a minute since I've messed with any. I also don't recommend smoking in general. But there's always something that I'm on a tangent right now, or that I'm on a tangent with. For me, it's just been working my jobs and stuff. But yeah, I think at that moment I was like, I should look at this a little more seriously. And I just started going to a bunch of conventions, with some buddies of mine, and spoke more with voice actors, kind of like how you do, and just got there. I never tried asking like, tell me how to get in. People don't want to tell you. That's a little too forward of a question. But just kind of ask them like, well, what makes you love what you do? Or what do you recommend, like advice wise? Like, what do you think about someone who's new trying to get into this stuff? Like, what should they do? And it was usually somewhat of a similar answer of like, you gotta have your demos out, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. And I made it work, I made it work with what I had, and just kept pursuing it. And I think it took me, I don't know what, is a year and maybe a couple months before I got called in for my first anime, which was MF Ghost. And here we are now it just started as 2 years now, back on October 17th was my Crunchy anniversary, my 2-year anniversary. But yeah, I think that moment right there, I think the moment of doing ADR for the first time and speaking with the people there, I think that made me think, I don't know, the way they talk about it sounds like I ought to do some more research, and that's what I did.
Well, listen, you gotta walk before you can run. I know it's like I know when you first start, it's like, am I really good to do, like, can I really do this?
Yeah.
Like,
self-doubt's crazy.
Yeah, the thing is, I'll tell you this, Ethan, some direction is better than no direction. I say just start moving and see what happens.
No, I agree. I agree 100%.
But the other thing too, I want to say is you do have a support system. I think that's one of the main important things to have. Support system. You have people who support you. You have to tell you that you can do this thing. Go land this. Go see. Go do this thing and see how you like it.
Mm-hmm. You do. I think it's heavily required. But I tell you, I wouldn't count myself as one of these people necessarily, but friends I have, coworkers I have in Crunchy. I mean, some of these actors, you've probably even heard of it, depending on who all you've interviewed. Gosh, man, a lot of them take a leap. They take a huge leap to come and do this stuff, and it's super admirable. And I don't know if I would ever recommend that for anyone, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not your boss. I'm not your parent. I'm not going to tell you how to do anything in life that if you're passionate about. I mean, like I said, I mean, pursue that. I just got lucky being born where I was. I was not super far. I've always lived in Texas. Well, for the most part, I've lived in Texas. My parents were both Air Force, so we moved a lot from base to base and all that jazz. But growing up, majority of it, 90% of it or so, Texas. And so where we record and at Crunchy is like an hour away where I lived. So nothing crazy. But not everyone is so lucky, right? And some people make that leap, and it's really cool. It is really something to see people that there's a actor goes by the name of Nassim Benelcourt. He is wait a minute. I think I just butchered his name. Cut that. Oh no, I didn't. I got it. Well, because there's two friends I have both with a similar last name, but Nassim Benelcourt, he's the English voice actor for Mini Piccolo in Dragon Ball Daima. Good dude.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah, good dude. That's one of those guys that made a very forward leap from where they originally lived, and like I'm very thankful that they are doing as well as they are doing. Very good dude. But yeah, no, it's tough. It's very tough.
It is. I can agree. All right, I know that was a long first beginning section.
It's all good.
We had a good discussion in that section. So Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. So section 2 is career and craft. So we're getting to the fun stuff now. Can you
Oh yeah.
describe your journey into voice acting from your first audition to landing your breakout roles?
Absolutely. The very first audition, that one's lost to time. I bet I could find it somewhere. Actually, I feel like I might be able to find it, but I wouldn't know what the project was. I came from the indie space online. That's where I came from, and that's just where I started. Uh, and typically anyone else that is from the indie space or does it to this day, uh, they know this exact feeling of you audition for stuff and then it falls through and you don't hear back from it, which is a fairly similar process to how it works, like with Crunchyroll, for instance, or even LA studios, right? It's fairly similar. If you don't get the role, you don't get the role, and no one's going to tell you you didn't. But sometimes you'll get the role and then the project falls through anyways and you don't get to do anything, or you did do stuff, or you recorded for like 3 or 4 episodes of whatever and sank in several hours, maybe even days on it, and then you don't get paid for it. It fell through, womp womp. And then that was life and you moved on. So that was the space I came from. And oh gosh, and I was very fortunate to work with a lot of people back in the day that nowadays are quite successful in their craft, and I won't name them for the sake of I don't know. I don't know if they care to ever go by their old online names, but they're fantastic, and gosh, that was a nightmare of a time. Like that was when we would use Skype to record stuff. And Skype was awful. I like Skype, but only because of the jingle when you call someone. That's all I like Skype for. Yeah, it was a nice little jingle. So a lot of that, was just like attitude wise. I was like, this is cool. I'm gonna audition. We're gonna go for it. And and most of the time I didn't get anything. And that's common. I mean, even now, you will. This is a very like baseline idea if you're ever someone who aspires to be an actor of any kind, whether it's voice acting for anime or audiobooks or commercials or doing on camera work, like, or theater, like you fail most auditions. And I say fail, I think that's a bad way to look at it, but that's what most people are told is like, yeah, you didn't book the role, right? You didn't book the role. That just means you weren't the right person for it, I think, is the better outlook to have on it. And I mean, it keeps you, if you're someone who's not real good at taking rejection, right? Taking no for an answer. I don't know, man. I don't know if this is the business for you, but you got to get used to hearing no quite a bit.
Yeah, listen, you know how many people I wanted to bring on the show and they told me no? Yeah. I just kept going to the next person.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I'm not going to be able to get because I will tell you this, Ethan. I've talked to a few people already. Y'all at Crunchyroll, you guys have to pick a very specific voice actor for this role. Like, it just can't be anyone you just grab out of a hat. It has to be very specific. Yeah. Otherwise, the show's not going to be good. I'm like, you don't want to just put some random guy. They're not ready for this yet. I mean, they have to be careful who they're choosing. And it's understandable. People say no, I get rejected. It's okay. Move on and let's see what happens next. Let's find something else to do.
That's, yeah, I mean, 100%. And also, I mean, you also, as an actor, like I already kind of talked about this, where you control the things you can and the rest of it you just leave it as is and don't worry about it because you've done all you can. Once you send in an audition, right? I mean, what else can you do? Some people think, oh, I should email the director. I should email. No, don't worry about it. You send it. This is a very baseline rule of like, send it and forget it. And that's, I mean, it's easy when you're talking with people, especially those that have like a massive slew of credits. I do not. I am not one of these people. You know, I still consider myself new. I've only been doing this professionally for 2 years. I'm very much I try to be very real about that. But like you look at a lot of people that have, you know, a slew of credits, it's easy to be like, man, they annihilate it. And they probably do for a slew of reasons. But, you know, remember, there are so many auditions that they didn't get. There's probably more, I would argue there's more auditions that they didn't get versus what they did get. And that's just the reality of the situation. And you know, if you can really take that and understand that it's not that you failed, it's just you weren't picked, right? You can go far. I mean, I think that's anyone that's in this business. I think to whether it's anime or they do freelance work for whether it's audiobooks, animation, whatever, right? All of us are very much like, man, we lose a lot, right? We get told no a lot. And that's just how it is. That's just what it is. But you keep being persistent. Again, you do it for the love, right? You do it for the love of the game.
Yeah, do it for the love. I think the problem with some people who like say, no, I want this audition. I think what happened was, and I talked to Mauricio about this 2 months ago.
Mhm.
People are just in it to just be famous. And he told me, you know, that's a sad life. You know, he said, you know, I can guess you can find happiness in fame, I suppose. But me and him also agree that's not the whole point why you're doing this.
Yeah,
There's more to it.
There, like you definitely, I think you do need to be very conscientious of every aspect of particularly this business, right? I think you really do have to be someone that's very conscientious, because it's like, yeah, I mean, you are in a position where, yeah, you might get a little bit of that micro celebrity to you. You know, maybe even you blow up to huge levels of fame in this. I don't know how. I personally wouldn't know what huge levels of fame is to in this business. I could name people that are real hot on the market right now, but I mean, do they get recognized in public like Hollywood stars? I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, I think that's true. I definitely think. I mean, there's no way in the world there's not people out there that do just truly look at it, you know, for fame aspects. And I don't think it's a bad idea to at least have that on your mind, like, maybe I could. But I think your overarching reason is you do it for the love, man. You do it for the love, because it's the only way when things don't work out for you, and you know, you don't reach the more, what would you say? I wouldn't say unobtainable, but you know, when you try to hit a target that's real far, um, you don't just collapse. You don't just collapse because your reasoning for getting up and doing it isn't so, what would you say? Not lackluster, but just lacking in general, right? It needs a bit more to it. You need a bit more in there. And whether it be, man, I love telling the story, or I love helping to create whatever the world is that I'm in. These are good reasons, right? Or it's like, no, I really want to be like the person that helped me when I was a kid. That's another. I've heard people that are like, man, I loved, you know, like any of the actors from like Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Any of the voice actors there, and for me that inspired, and it did. I actually am being genuine. Like for me, like a lot of those people did inspire me too. But it's like I want to be just like that. That's a good goal too. I think you need to develop it a little more, but I think that's a very good place to start. Why do you do it? Especially when you have someone like you who hits us with some, I would say, very high level questions, man. I like the questions. I appreciate that's what I'm getting at as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because listen, I'm starting to understand, like I said before, back then I was in the wrong mindset in high school. I was just all for entertainment, just trying to do all this. But and I'll tell you this, Ethan. I'll tell you a little thing. When I was in college, I do photography too, but I stopped doing it after a while because I had a little mishap in April.
Sure.
So I just kind of figured, I was just so focused on just taking pictures. I didn't understand why I was doing it. I was just taking pictures just to, hey, this is a good picture. Y'all should like this or something. I didn't understand the full context of why I was taking pictures. Am I doing it just to, I don't know, just get some attention, just to make myself look good? So I stopped and I had to realize what's the other question you should ask yourself is, what's the point of all this? That's another question you should ask yourself. And, I thought back to what I went through in college and I told myself, what else can I do to do content? Because now it's like, okay, I put photography back on show because now it's not going the way I expected it to be for the last 4 years. So I picked this up and I was like, well, let's see. I like talking to people and I've done 3 documentaries when I was in school for my senior thesis. I've done 3 documentaries.
That's impressive.
So
Gosh,
this
a lot of work.
It was for my senior thesis. I had to.
I had to do a lot of work on my senior thesis too. Like I had to write at bare minimum a 20-page research paper, and as well as make like, I don't remember how long it had to be, but I had to take it with like Google Slides, right, or PowerPoint. I had to do that as well and present it, and it was a nightmare. I know what you mean. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So I just kind of figured, well, the thing is, I do like talk people and I do like hearing their stories. So that's how this came along later this year in June. Mm-hmm. So far, people are liking the stories I've been talking, stories that I'm putting out there, because these are real people who actually, who want to sit down. Like, what's the context behind this person? What can we understand that we don't know about them before? Like, and it could help someone who might want to do something like this. Because the thing is, I'm not just bringing you guys. I'm also bringing illustrators, animators, tattoo artists, cosplayers.
I skim through kind of what all content you do, because I've done other interviews as well where speaking with voice actors isn't the only thing they do. They do quite a bit, and it's always nice to just see. I'm always curious, like, who am I about to talk to? It just gives me a decent idea of whom I'm about to talk to. So yeah, no, I love that stuff.
Yeah, I try and listen. I know people are just saying, oh, let's just make this an anime podcast. Let's make this all about anime stuff. No, with me particularly, since I like talking, I just want to keep my podcast plain and simple. Mm-hmm. That's why I call it just the conversation podcast.
Yeah.
So that way it does feel common. Because the thing is, even with you guys as voice actors, I'm talking to real life people, what they've gone through in their life experience. Sure, we can talk about anime too, but I want to make sure, listen, behind all these voices you've done, Ethan, you're still a human and being.
Right. 100%. And I like that. Like, I don't think I've done anything like this before, where it's a lot more conversational, and I try to keep it even with like other formats. I do try to keep what I say is fairly conversational, but yeah, no, I like it. I think it helps. Let's maybe demystify maybe a little bit of these people, especially like you get some of these guys that are newer actors, including myself, and it's like, man, we really don't know much about them. We know they do these things, but like, we don't know them. And I always enjoyed behind the scenes stuff growing up, particularly watching anime. I always enjoyed seeing videos of old school actors, from like the Funimation days, like just doing fun stuff. I like that kind of stuff. That's content that I want to try to bring back, especially with the people I do consider friends. Mauricio being one of them. That dude's fantastic. Ben Stegmeyer, another great guy. Devon Oliver, a couple of people on that board. I don't want to spoil it all, but yeah, no, I like that kind of stuff, and that's why I don't think I've ever said no to one of these. I don't think I've said no ever. It's usually just been hey, we got to plan out the date,
I gotcha. And I know, and, speaking of which, I'm speaking to Devon Oliver this Friday.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
Devon's great. I love Devon.
so there's him. But yeah, it's just, because I know these you guys, especially like people like Sean Shamil, Chris Sabat, everybody else voiced these characters for years. But have I ever tried to sit down and just have an actual like real life genuine conversation with them? Like I think some anime podcasts don't do that in particular. That's why this is not like for me. And sure, I want to talk about a lot of pop culture stuff. Like I want this to be an anime podcast as well, but I still want us to have a genuine conversation. That's why I don't have this. That's why I don't say it's an anime podcast. It's just a conversation podcast.
I like it. I like that.
It just keeps saying because I was like, who wants to talk about anime all day? No offense. I do.
No. I mean,
do want to talk. I just
I understand exactly what you're going with. I know what you mean. 100%. It's cool. It's cool hearing more than just. I mean, anime obviously is its own facet of. I mean, you can really get on a million tangents with it, But like, shoot, there's plenty of other things that I'm sure you've already found out very quickly in your time doing this. Like, wow, these guys do quite a bit out on their free time. They do a lot more than just the anime stuff. And it's like, yeah. 100%.
Of course. I'm trying to talk, make these connections, because life is also, if you've seen the 2006 movie Cars, I watched that so many times. Now, as an adult, I understand the context. Life is about the journey, not the finish line.
100%.
It's still an amazing movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, I tell you, Pixar is supposed to lift you up in those moments. So, you gotta love them. And I watched Soul too. Soul was really good. Like
I still need to see it. I still need to see it. There's quite a bit of the newer stuff I really need to see. I'll go on a tangent about it later, but like just to summarize it, like when I started doing like anime professionally, I know Soul's not anime, but whenever I started doing anime, almost like all media content in general plummeted in me watching it. Like I couldn't even tell you a TV show. No, I started Hunter x Hunter. I've been watching Hunter x Hunter, but like, see that nothing new I haven't seen. Like, it's just like, I don't make the time anymore. I need to make the time, but yeah, but I'm sorry. Continue with Soul. Watched Soul.
You're good, man. Yeah, there was this one line, and so can I spoil a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
There was this one scene where Joe thought, like, well, so what do we do next? And then Dorothea was like, we come back and we do it all over again. But Joe was like, it wasn't as fulfilling as he thought it was. This wasn't what he wanted to do. Dorothea was like, what's wrong, Teach? It's just that all my life I've been waiting on this moment. I just thought I'd feel different. And then there's one line with Dorothea that caught my attention. I once heard this story about a fish. He swims up to this older fish and says, I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean. The ocean, says the older fish, that's what you're in right now. Oh, this says the young fish, this is just water. What I want is the ocean.
Yeah, and I think too, it's messages like that, movies like that is really, and we can even connect it back to when we were talking earlier about wanting to do something like voice acting in anime or purely for like a fame aspect, right? Is like, you really don't know what you want unless you really think about it. You got to really gnaw to the bone on these things, because I mean, if you want fame, I mean, do you want, here's another outlook. Do you really want to have your life monitored publicly pretty much forever for the rest of your life? Are you willing to have that sacrifice? Now, I don't think, like I said, I don't know to what level anime actors get fame wise, like what that looks like in a daily life setting. Cause I'm not that, and I don't have friends that are like that, but, which is fine. I like the idea that in my own, if I'm in the right space, right, I can have people that appreciate the work I've done, and likewise I can also appreciate them and show that appreciation. But I like that I can go anywhere I want and no one's gonna be like, you're Ethan Condon, like no one's gonna do that. I'm like, thank goodness, it's nice. It's it's just kind of like, what would you call it? I don't know. But it's nice not to be at that, I don't know, that prying eye at all times. Like you,
Yeah, of course.
you really want to take whatever you say you want. Like you really should gnaw to the bone and think about like, what do you really mean when you're saying that? Because that's a hard question. It's a very hard question to be like, hey, what do you want, man? Like what do you actually want in life? That's really tough. That's a really tough question. If you really think about it and you really try to converse about it. And I was, if you were like me when you were, 18, 19, 20, 21, and you were at school taking philosophy courses and reading, Kierkegaard and Wittgenstein and Nietzsche. I mean, you might become an existentialist, and you're all of a sudden you're like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing in life anymore, and then it gets real tough, and you get muddled up in the details, but I think the more important thing is, find something you love to do, and then ask yourself why you love it, and really get down to that. See what that really means.
Of course. And listen, Ethan, I also tell people, like, I posted a picture on Instagram with me showing me with a Ben and Jerry's ice cream in front of me, just a picture of the ice cream. And I posted in my comment section saying, always remember to enjoy the small moments in life. No, nothing wrong with that.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, we could talk about even that aspect for a hot minute. I mean, there's a lot of little things I think that we do take for granted or overlook. I think maybe overlooking is a better way to put it. But yeah, I think so.
Of course. All right. Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to, I know we talked a lot on that.
You're good. You're good.
I think it was important because there's a lot of context that we needed to talk about. So it's nice that we have to have these conversations like that.
Oh yeah.
How do you manage your dual career as a voice actor and veterinary technician? Does one inform the other?
Well, yes and no. I try to. At the end of the day, there's a reason to why I do both, and the reasons, I like veterinary med. It's a super fascinating field, and it pays good money, at least here in Dallas. I'll say that which is where I live. In Dallas, it does well. But the other side of it is just because, the life is expensive, and I can't have just one job. I think the last time I had one job was when I was in high school during the summer, and I would work as a server, and I didn't need money that during those days. I was just saying it's just a job so I can save up for a car, and that's how I had it, or how I looked at it back then. And nowadays it's just like, man, I can't live off of one job. And of course, I didn't go into voice acting for the money. A little tidbit, if no one has said it, for anyone watching, if you don't know this, like, typically voice acting does not pay very well when it comes to this. Now, there are your exceptions. There's your exceptions in the field, but the main reason to it is like, well, I mean, shoot, we talked about this. I mean, you're going to hear no a lot. You're gonna have that rejection. It's not a trading your time in for money. It's not that. It's not a salary. It's I get paid for the gig, and that's it. So yeah, if you're going in doing this thinking you're gonna, make a bunch of money. I mean, you very well might. I don't know. You might be the next big thing. I have no idea. But I've never gone into this with the idea of like, man, I'm gonna make a lot of money. This is not how I've ever looked at it. Maybe I will one day. I don't know, and that would be nice, and I could do it full time. That would be nice, right? But not the goal. Not the goal to do it like that. Again, you gotta remember these questions you have are fantastic because it has allowed us to connect a lot of what we just talked about to the next question. So these are fantastic.
I try my best, man.
Well, these are great. These are great questions, dude. But yeah, I mean, you would really have to gnaw it down to the bone of like, why do you do this? If you do it for money, I mean, okay, I feel like it's only going to take you so far. And I can be wrong. I can totally be wrong about it. I'm not going to pretend like I know, but I feel like in my heart of hearts, no one I've ever admired or that most people have admired truly went in to do this for the money. At least when they started and maybe even as their career grew. Obviously, you look at things a bit differently when you're, 20 years deep into this into any kind of industry that you do, and then you start picking your time a little more wisely, and you might start, that's where you might be like, well, I'm not fixing to do something for X amount of money. That's a different conversation. But, I think in your initial phase and as you pursue and go along with your journey, you got to have something very, very, very strong as a reason to why you do it. And money's not that strong. People think it is. I mean, it's not. Money helps. It does help. But gosh, man, there's more important things in life than money. Too many more important things in life than money.
Yeah, and voice acting, that can't be the only reason why. Like I said before, it can't be the only reason why you're doing voice acting. So many voice actors who have other careers. Like I've done so many research on all of you guys that y'all have more careers in this voice acting. You have a few people who do singing. You got people who do like photography, modeling.
Mm-hmm.
You got people who do audio engineering. John Swayze, who's all for one in My Hero Academia, he has a 9-to-5 job. A 9-to-5. So it can't be. So voice acting can't be just for the money. There are more important. There's more important things in life that just. But it just can't be the only reason why you're doing it. You gotta love the art of voice acting. It's the passion. It's like you said before. Why am I doing this? What's the point of all this?
Yeah, and I don't think it's a stretch to be like I think almost everyone would agree with me in our industry. Like, yeah, the goal would be for this to be full time, and a lot of people do it. Nassim's a great example that's what he does, and he does it for a living. And he doesn't just do anime; he does a bunch of other things as well. But like, it's difficult. It's very difficult to do. There's a lot more security in having a 9-to-5 or some kind of salary job. But what does that do? That takes away time, right? So how do you balance that? You're back, swinging back to your initial question of like, how do you balance that? I mean, did you just make it work? You see how you can make it work. The veterinary field for me has been very, we'll say, kind. It's been very kind to me, but not every place is like that. And of course, I always do it where I try not to let my voice acting interfere with my what is paying my bills, right? What is paying my bills? Yeah, I'm going to make sure I am there for that. And with my primary bill payer, right? We'll say, and with the voice acting stuff, it's like I try to, and they try to work with you on like, hey, when are you available? And there's forms we sign saying when we're available. We can change them anytime we need to, and we go and we just roll with it. I'm lucky where I have a couple of days that I'm completely free, and they can be like, hey, Ethan, we need you in for blah 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 at this time. Can you do it? Are you able to do it? And it's like, yeah, I can do that. Or no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Not today. And it's like, okay, no big deal. We have a lot of actors, so a lot to pick from if we need it for extra stuff. But what even like for instance, when I did my first lead role as the Red Ranger, I was working a salary job, and that was like I was working 4 days out of the week. Thank goodness I was working 4 days out of the week, because I don't know if I would have been able to do that lead role had I not. And the director for that was Lee George, and Lee knows me, and so I told him my schedule. I said, hey, look, man, Friday is the only day I got. It's the only day I got where I don't work. And he goes, can we do that? Because, I'm going in there to record for that show, or I did, sorry, for like 4 to 6 hours per episode. Well, sometimes even more, depending on how much it was. There was a time where I think I went on a Friday, recorded for like 3 or 4 hours, and then the very next week on like a Monday or Tuesday in the evening, I had to go and record the rest of it. It happens. It happened a lot with my last lead I did in Onmyo Kaiten, where there were days that I didn't even work with the main director, Manny Aragon. I worked with assistant directors during the night, and that is just the what would you say? I mean, the luck and and something I'm very thankful for, that they do try to work with you. They try to work with you on that stuff, and as much as they try to work with me, I try to work with them. Like, hey, look, I can't do this time, but I could do this time if you had a slot for it. And if it's like, no, we don't, okay, I understand. Or it's, yeah, we could do that. We can do that slot. Great, cool, let's do it. But yeah, you just got to find a time and just trying to make it work. If you have the will, you'll find a way to do it. It's very real. It feels like we're saying such, like, what would you call them? Such bread and butter phrases, but like there's a reason why they're as well known as they are. I mean, like, they're very real. They're very real things. But I've just been very fortunate to do the amount of stuff I've done. And especially with my schedule, I work a 4-day schedule right now, and I make it work. I make it work with what I can.
Yeah, you got to, and it's nice. You want to make sure you have a mutual relationship with whoever's directing your show. You want to sit down and talk what works for us. Listen, Ethan, every time when I go to conventions, like I go to, like, I see so many voice actors. Now I'm taking the time out of the day to go and try to sit down and talk with them. I spoke to a few. I think some of you guys now, you see me as more than just a fan trying to show up. I'm a guy who just wants to talk to y'all, just have a genuine conversation. So, like I said before, if I meet someone and be like, hey, I want to, let's say, for example, like the voice actors I show you for that convention that's coming up, I will be like, hey, I just want to talk to you for a few minutes. What can we do about this? Even if it's like, just, even if it's like for like 5 to 10 minutes, I can go with that. Just, you just, like I said, mutual relationship, have conversations, try to work something out and see what goes from there.
Yeah. Well, and I think, that's 100%, I think, the way to go about it. And I tell you, like, I remember I had this conversation. This was a internal conversation I had with myself when I was a kid. I was like, if I ever, this is baby Ethan, right? He's like, if I ever run into someone famous, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to be nonchalant. That was my idea. I'll be nonchalant. And my reasoning was like, I'm sure they get it all the time of people that aren't nonchalant. And that doesn't mean like, like I said, I don't even really, I wouldn't even say I have fanatics, fans of my work. People that admire my work, sure. I'm cool. I'm down with that. I have colleagues that are like that with me. I'm like, cool. But like people that would unironically say if and when I ever do a convention, right? I have a little booth, right? And someone runs up and is absolutely fangirling, fanboying, whatever. That's totally, I don't think that's a negative. I think that's totally fine. That's a totally normal emotion. And we can find our own appreciation in that because it's just not something we're expecting. But the route that some people do, and I've seen a lot of people do it the way you've done it, which I think is always great, of just trying to be like, hey, listen, I really admire what you do. I love your work. I love I love what you did in whatever show. And in your instance, you try to see if you can have further dialogue. It's like, hey, I want to kind of pick your mind for like maybe 5-10 minutes. Is there I think you said it like this, is there a way we can do that? What could we do about that? And that, I think that's a gorgeous way to ask it because it's inviting. It's not the answer can't be yes or no. It can't be that. It has to be, well, I hate to say this. I just can't do it right now. It can't be a no. It's got to be an elaboration. An elaboration of why no, or maybe we could do that. Email me at this, and there you go. You've reframed the question. So no, I think that's brilliant. And yeah, I mean, I think as actors too, especially us newer folk. I mean, I think regardless, we're just not used to the idea that we have anyone that would admire our work like that. It's at least to me. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I definitely. I mean, heck, anyone that follows me or on Twitter or Instagram or comments on any posts I make about a role announcement that are like, like I love your work. Like, that's awesome. I seriously, like, I appreciate that with my heart of hearts. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. I'm like, that's crazy. I don't know. I've just never, I don't know. I never thought of it like that, but yeah, gosh, I think that's the way to do it. And I always like talking with just talking with anyone. You never know. Straight back to the beginning, right? If you never know what you can pull from anyone you meet, you never really know. So that's awesome.
Of course. I was going to try to do that since now I know, like, last time I talked to Emily, I wanted to try to talk on her podcast, but this was right before I met Jay because I was like, looks like there was something I was missing. Now I know what to do. So, like, when I go up to her now that she's coming to my hometown in Savannah, I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I didn't expect to see her again so soon after I saw her in June. Now she's coming to my hometown. Maybe what happened is, here's the thing. One thing that I do, Ethan, I do a lot of research when I go to like very amazing places. Here's the thing. Even for like Anime Weekend Land with the World Congress Center, you're not going to believe what I did. I pulled up the map and the schematics of the building. So I know like exactly where to go, so I don't get lost.
Says, I know every exit. I know every entry, exit, stair. I know how many. That's cool, dude.
It doesn't hurt to be prepared.
No, I love it, dude.
So listen, I learned that the hard way when I was at MomoCon last year in that Congress Center. I was in my amateur hour. I didn't have all the answers in front of me, but now in 2025, I'm more prepared. And sometimes, you live and you learn these things. It's, but yeah, I do agree. Like, if I just go up and just ask her, Jay, Kara, if I can talk to you guys, figure out what we can do about this. Of course, I'll have everything I have in front of me this time because I'm more prepared to speak to you guys. And listen, Ethan, whether you're small or big, all voice actors are just voice actors. If each and everyone has done amazing work, I would like to see it and see how you did and see if I like the work. If I like it, I like it. It doesn't matter if you're still starting out. Voice acting is voice acting, no matter who's doing it.
No, I agree. And the only thing I meant with it of like, particularly with me just being new, is just like I'm not used to it. I'm not used to the admiration or the appreciation of it. But it's cool. I always look at it as a positive. It's just new. It's a new thing to me. Is all.
Of course. Let's see. When approaching a new character, what's your process for finding their unique voice and personality?
Yes, this is a great question. That is sometimes, dude, it just hits you instantly, and it's due to we talked about this prior. It's due to how you grew up. It's due to the things that influenced you. Like I'm gonna use my leads always. It feels like, but like Red Ranger, yeah, I knew exactly how to do the audition for that one. Right, I knew what to do for that. That one felt like a no brainer to me. You know, come in. He's gonna have a very over the top. The kind of voices I remember back when I watched like SPD, Mystic Force, Dino Thunder, right? Mighty Morphin. I know what to do, right? More or less, I know what to do. But sometimes that's not the case, right? Like that I don't think I researched that character at all. Togo did not research him when I did the audition for it, but when I got cast, I did research that character, because it's like, okay, let me, and I don't think there's a wrong or right way to do it. I think if you want to, go for it. Completely up to personal preference. But typically when I get an audition, there is some general information about the character already with the audition. So it's like, okay, I can get a grasp of, how to kind of do it. But a lot of times, let's say it's not a character like that where, I'm not sure how this guy might sound. Like I said, they give you a general idea of what this character's kind of about and who he is, how old he is, etc. And then I also look at, they also give there's a photo of the character, right? There's of the character. I'm like, okay, well, can I, if I see that character talking mentally, I'm doing this. If I see that character talking, could I hear my voice out of that? Yes or no? If it's a yes, obviously it's like I probably already have a good idea of how I'm going to do it. If it's a no, I try to tinker with it a little bit. But if I'm not extremely confident in it, sometimes I would just won't even audition. I don't think that's the best policy. I think you should audition regardless. But that's a me thing. I think you should do it. Do as I say, not as I do, right? But if it's a maybe, it might just purely be maybe I could do it. I'm not sure. We'll just have to audition and see if I get it or not. I'm not going to say who this is, only because I would rather them tell their own story about it. But it's someone I worked with, and they had a character and they did fantastic in the show, and I remember them telling me like, Ethan, I am kind of shocked I even got the role. I wasn't confident in the voice that I used for it. I tried something new. Try something new. It might be the thing. That's why I do recommend you really should just audition. Even if you don't feel confident, man. I mean, give it, if you really have to, give it out of left field voice if you have to. There's not necessarily a wrong yet. There can be, right? But I'm just saying in general, right? If you're taking it with seriousness, shoot for it anyways. You never know. But they got the role. They did fantastic. I loved what they did with that character. I loved them in that show, and it's like, what were you so worried about? But you're not thinking about that during the audition. You're just kind of like, oh, you're a little nervous on it, and you're just trying to do your best with it. But coming up with those voices, your your audition is going to have quite a bit of outline to it already. That might help. It should help you, but maybe you do go for more research and look into the character. Some people do that. I tend not to. I personally tend not to. I try to go in pretty cold I try to go in with not zero knowledge. I depending on who you ask, I think it's totally like there's positives and negatives to it. I think the beauty of coming in with maybe a colder idea is you and the director can really come together to collaborate. And maybe you can't, even if you did have the voice, but y'all really are able to control how the voice might go down. But I tell you, I had it was my first like bigger role. It was in a show called Seventh Prince. I was reincarnated as the Seventh Prince, which it has a longer title than that, right? But where I played Jade Lordost and Gisarm, and something that was a first for me, as in I didn't necessarily do research for that character, but I was told about this character from a friend, and they were like, yeah, and he has this switch up that, this demon possesses him. And I was like, that's pertinent information. Like, I should know that, because then it changed how I did that voice. We meet Jade, and at first he's very happy. He's up here, right? Then he's not Jade anymore. And he gets a lot more. I think when I started out with Gisarm, it was more along the lines of here, and he's very conniving on how he talks. Eventually, it gets lower and lower, and he's like, "I'll kill your seventh prince." He's very insane because he's getting his ass whipped by this like 10-year-old boy. But sometimes that knowledge that you might not have without doing the research, sometimes it is the what might make you win. It might get you that gig. It's hard to know which is the route, in my opinion. So I've always kind of gone like more like, I'm not going to research. I'm going to do it based on how I look at this character and how I think they might sound. It's a good practice too, is especially when creating character voices, is to do bad impressions of either people or other characters that already have a voice. Do bad, legit, do bad impressions of them, because they're their own characters. You're making up your own characters. And you might have that voice in your back pocket, and you might find a character and you're like, ooh, that could go there. We could put that there. But that most of my process is going in very very cold. going in very cold. And even then, sometimes this is my last thing on it, because I don't want to babble too much about it, but with Onmyo Kaiten, I think I did 2 takes for that, and one of the voices I made a little higher, not too out of my range. Like, it was more like, don't admit defeat until you're dead, versus my normal speaking voice of don't admit defeat until you're dead. And the director was like, I want that second one. There you go. I want that one. Let's do. Manny was like that. Manny was literally like, the way you did this one in your audition was exactly what it was exactly what I was thinking in my head. And then you did it, and it was like, yeah, I got to get you in. So a director too will assist you with coming up with a voice if you don't have one. Yeah. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just let you, they go for it, man. Whatever you come up with is what we're doing. It's like, okay.
There you go. That's great, man. We're almost done with this session. Then we'll be at the halfway point.
Sure.
Ooh, man, I feel, you don't feel exhausted, do you?
I'm a not owl.
Me too. Now you've done main roles and additional voices. How do you handle versatility moving between major roles and additional voices in the same project?
Well, that's the interesting thing about it, is it usually goes opposite to how you've just described it. It usually is transitioning from additional voices to a major role. Maybe I've had that happen several times, but I think the one that comes like off the top of the dome is a show I did called Bye Bye Earth. We finished season 2 spring of this year, and there you go. The very first episode I did Walla for. Additional voices, right? I did that, and I had a great group. It was, oh gosh, I'm not. Oh yes, I am. We had Corey Wilder, and Corey plays Polyurethane and the new Panty and Stocking, as well as Zonka and Gachi Akata. Super talented individual. You had Sean Laterno, who is oh gosh, Sean, don't beat me up for this. He's in Cleventess. He's in gosh, I could have sworn he just announced something recently. He plays another character in Bye Bye Earth with me. But he's a phenomenal actor. Sean, don't beat me up for that. I'm sorry. I don't remember everyone's roles off the top of my head. And then we had Nassim Benelkor, who I've already mentioned. And that was a fantastic Walla group that we had. I feel like we had a great time, and it was a really good group. But you just kind of have fun in those sessions, and you're playing off of each other and create, because you basically, if you're doing additional voices, you are improvising. You're coming up with your own stuff. Typically you get like minimal direction on what you might do, like, hey guys, we're in a market, so talk about market stuff. Cool. How much for those grapes over there, right? You might talk about that versus then after, right? You for that show, because Sean had the same thing, and then I had the same thing. We both then eventually got named characters in that show, and it was, again, it's almost like you just come in with a completely fresh slate of all right, I see the character. How are they going to sound? What's their overall demeanor? Some people even base it off of the Japanese voice actors. Like, well, what do they sound like? How do they? Because we hear it in the J. Well, we say the J. That we hear it in Japanese first, and so it also influences how we might come up with a voice. And Gwen was very much this, like, light. Well, I wouldn't say lighthearted, but his voice was a lot more calm, and he was a coward at first. Gwen's like one of these roles that I did where, like, I don't know, like, I've never understood that character, and because I've only seen the anime. I've never read the light novel or the manga for it, but like, I don't understand that character because he starts out as a coward. So I had a very what would you say, a very nervous, kind of up there voice when I first started with him. But then he gets brave in like 2 episodes, or sorry, he gets conniving and tactical like Armin from Attack on Titan. He gets that way almost the very next episode, and then he gets really brave and fights, and then he loses his arm, and then he becomes a cool drunk guy with one arm. And then in the second season, he becomes like one of the most pivotal characters in the show, and and does all these monologues, and I was like, what am I doing? And I don't understand this. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the role, and I thought it was awesome to do it. I just, like, I wish I understood that character a little more. It was hard to connect to that guy. It's very hard.
Yeah, that's the real good trick. Sometimes you have to make some nice little maneuvers and understand, okay, this is different territory. Let's figure out how I can make this work. This is a different character I'm doing here. So let's just try to brainstorm for a second, see how I feel.
Coming in with the clean slate is a great way. I mean, heck, dude, the additional voices, I mean, that's where you really get to not mess around, but that's where you really get to play with your voice, because you're not unless you're doing a bit character, right? Someone that has, like, you can see them on screen, they have flaps that you have to match up to. You're going to come up with a little quick character for that guy. But when you're doing additional voices like Walla, I mean, dude, I would do stuff where I was like, my granddaughter really loves that one song. Like I get to really mess around, dude. Like I think at one point I was like, Daddy, could we please go see the game show? Like you really get to mess around, dude. And I think I can't remember all of the silly voices we would do, but like you get to do that, and maybe the director's like, all right, let's ease up a little bit, but that's the beauty of it. You really can come in with a clean slate and just kind of do whatever you want, as long as what you're saying is pertinent to the show. Has to be pertinent. Yeah.
It has to.
Mhm.
One last question, then we're out of the section, then we'll be at the halfway point.
All righty.
What's the biggest challenge you faced in voice acting, and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge was, and because I've always felt like that the challenge has always moved. To me, it started with, well, getting into Crunchyroll, right? That was the first challenge because I'd already been doing the voice acting to a degree, right? But then I got in and I was like, okay, sounds good. We're in. And then it was like the new challenge was how do I start working with more directors and start doing more shows? And we've honestly, that was a waiting game. Purely, it was just purely a waiting game. And because you're brand new, no one knows you. You're you gotta, I mean, it's hard for a director to be like, let's get this person in if they don't know you, they've never met you, so that was one of the challenges. And then it just took some time. I think it took me like from my first session to my second session took like 3 months. So yeah, there was like, I got called in, did my 45-minute session of additional voices, and then didn't hear anything for 3 months. And that can happen, and that's actually quite normal. And then I think in February, no, it was January, like late January, I did the second show I ever did, and then eventually, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I did my third, fourth, and then it just kind of trickled down and avalanched, or however it started stacking on, and all of a sudden I did some movies in the summer of 2024, or the spring into the summer. I did like 2 movies, and then I did Haikyuu and Blue Lock, and then even later on I did the Overlord movie. Like it just trickled down. So like a lot of that was purely time. I think when it comes to like a true challenge, I think my first character, Jade, I think that was a real challenge to me, because that was where, oh man, eyes are going to be on me for people that watch that show. Like that kind of makes me nervous. I don't want to fuck this up. I don't want to, I want to give it my 100%. And, I, bro, I called Nassim. I think I called him like 2 times about it. And Nassim's in that show too. He plays Albert de Saloum in Seventh Prince. So originally I was watching that show because he was in it, and I was being a good friend. I was like, yeah, I'll watch the show. So I did that. And gosh, man, that I would call him late at night. I'd call him. I'd be at the gym. I'd call him and be like, man, I'm fucking this roll up. I'm screwing it up, dude. I screwed it up. He's like, no, you're not, dude. You're killing it. Like you're doing great at it. And he was a very good support for me with that. And I think the best way that helped me get over it. I spoke with Lee about it too a little bit, and he said, no, dude, like you're not gonna sound bad in my studio. Like there's a reason why I picked you for this. I was like, I trust. And I started to remember kind of what we talked about, about an hour ago of like, man, control what you can. And And I've had very positive reception about that role, especially when I got booked for Red Ranger, because no one knew who I was still, and people were like, "Who's this Ethan guy that's got the Red Ranger role?" And I remember seeing comments like, "Oh, well, he played Jade in Gisarm, and uh, he did fantastic in that. He was great. I loved him in that." And I was like, "All right, okay, didn't know that one." And yeah, thanks for the compliment. But I think that one of the bigger challenge that to round it back was just the confidence of doing these bigger roles. I think was very very much a thing, and to overcome it was trust. It took trust and a little bit of ego. Took some ego. I've talked about this with a couple of colleagues about ego and how to use ego, because I have a particular relationship with ego. But I think when you step into a booth or wherever your recording space is, you need to understand that you're the best thing in that room. That doesn't mean you treat people like that. It's very different. You don't treat people like you're the best person in the room. I'm talking about you are the best actor in there, and you're going to give 100%. And you're not gonna doubt what you gave. If you need to do a second take, you do a second take. That doesn't matter. You're still going to get in, and you're going to do 100%. And then when you get out of the booth, you can be as nervous as you want about it, and whatever. You can do all that. But I've discussed this with several voice actors, and you know, from what they've told me, it's helped. It's helped to a degree. I don't know how much it's helped them. You know, something is better than nothing, in my opinion, helping wise. Like if they felt like they were able to do a better job because of advice that I've given them, that's awesome. That's all I would want, you know. But yeah, it took some better understanding of myself and trust to overcome that stuff.
And listen, every time you do a new role, I treat it like hey, at the end of a semester in high school, like you're gonna have like an end of the year challenge, and you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna overcome it, because it's coming up fast and you just don't know it yet.
And yeah, and it's like, man, are you flexible? Are you able to get out of your comfort zone and try some things you wouldn't try? And this isn't just acting; this is anything, man. Like you're always going to run into problems, and I think the sign of how well you're going to do when problems arise is, well, how good are you at adapting? Um, as a big thing, you got to be good at adaptation and being able to have a little faith, a little trust, and use that support network when you can. But yeah, I think those were absolutely huge factors in how I was able to feel confident at the end of the day over the work I've done, you know, and I would still stick by it. I mean, I definitely could go back and nitpick at something, right? But that's the perspective of, well, now it's been X amount of time since I did that role, and I have some new knowledge, and then you got to look back and you're like, oh, I could have done this, but it's not how you want to look at it. It's like, nope, I did the best I could during that time, and you know, I kicked ass. Be like that about it if you have to, but it's especially in our field. I mean, a lot of us are very self-deprecating.
I gotcha. All right, so we're at the halfway mark. I know it's been a long discussion.
It's all good.
Ooh, I think we might hit 10:30, so it'll be 2 hours, man. So interesting stuff I'm hearing about you, Ethan.
Oh yeah, appreciate it, man.
You know, glad I'm getting a chance to ask. Section 3 is time for your favorite character deep dives.
Ooh,
so
I like it.
Let's see. Please correct me if I get this wrong. Takeru Koga, my dress up darling. Yeah. How did you find his emotional depth while keeping his humor and charm?
Oh yeah, Takeru Koga. Man, with his attitude, I think this is one of the. It was in a show, My Dress Up Darling, where you had more realism in the takes. this is something that I've like culturally looked at or in the acting space for anime, where you hear a lot of, I'll round this back to that, but you'll hear a lot about man, I just can't listen to the dub anymore, right? The dub versus sub argument. But you'll hear like, I can't listen to it. It just sounds too over the top. It's like, it's not that they're wrong. It's not that that's an incorrect opinion. It's just it's a preference thing, but they're not wrong, because yeah, it's like in anime we do stylize it, but there are shows where we don't stylize it that much. Like I think a great example, another show, Horimiya. Horimiya is one of those shows where it had its goofy moments, and we're gonna go, they're gonna go over the top, and you had some absolute phenomenal actors in that. But then a lot of it in the serious stuff was very more realistic takes of how we discuss things, and that is what I drew when I got the call for Takeru Koga for Dress Up Darling. I knew I've seen season 1 of Dress Up Darling. I watched it forever ago, right? And I loved that show. And then I got the call in for, I was like, oh, this is really cool. I just got some named character for a show that I really like. And I did like very minimal research on this guy. I didn't want to get too deep dive. Like, I didn't want to dive too deep with him because I don't know what my director's going to want. But the director is very much like, I think he told me, he's like, I like your voice for this, Ethan, hence why I picked you. But yeah, just something kind of more. He's very lackadaisical. Did I just say lackadaisy? No, I didn't. Sorry.
It's okay, man. You're good.
He's very lackadaisical. He's very chill. Let's keep that. And I was like, okay. And so that's the approach I gave, and I let that snarkiness come out where it needed to, and I think I kind of always have that. I can be very snarky. I try not to, but there's definitely, especially with my friends, like I'm very snarky to them, and they're just as snarky back with me. And so, I think the way to really sell that is truly full commitment of, well, he's like, for instance, of the voice, because the voice is just me. The voice is me, but not Hick, not from East Texas. It's literally, it's just this. It is me talking, and he's like, "Go, Joe. What are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be making the dress for Kitagawa?" Like, the inflections is not necessarily how I would say stuff, because again, I don't really know many people that talk like me that are that go to that work in Crunchy, but like the inflections are still within anime limits, but the voice and how hard I lean into that stylization, we pull back quite a bit. And it was to give a realer take. And I tell you, one of the episodes, I worked with a buddy of mine who was assistant directing for that show for season 2, Ben Stegmeyer, and he voices Ihru in Kaiju number 8, and that guy, phenomenal actor as well as a director. Gosh, man. But I remember he told me, I came in to do Takeru, and he was like, how's it go? We said hello to each other. He's like, how you doing? How you feeling? I was like, I am so fucking tired and my voice hurts. And it's very like, and he goes, perfect. It's exactly what I wanted from you. And I was like, all right. He was serious though. He's very serious, because he was like, I like how you made him sound kind of like tired and chill. I like that. So you're in the perfect voice set for it. But yeah, I would say that was the big thing of how I got that voice, was just he's kind of just a chiller version of me, really. Let's make him more like that. Let's make him a chiller version of me, and we'll throw that snarkiness in where it needs to be. That's how we did it.
Exactly. You want to be able to put your personality. Like, how can I put my personality into this character? And that's
100%.
and that goes for all voice actors. Y'all get introduced to new roles because I know all of you guys have different personality, have different attributes, characteristics. Y'all trying to put these into the characters that we like so much.
Oh yeah, 100%. And especially as when you come from the actor side of it, when you're watching your colleagues do stuff where you're like, man, I like how they say these things. Like, oh gosh, Marissa Duran, they are wonderful, wonderful. I watched them a lot as Hori from Horimiya, and the very like again the more realistic take, kind of more grounded, down to earth. Gosh, like that was a big inspiration for me. And same with Alejandro Saab, who plays Miyamura, the other lead in that show. And that was where I drew a lot of inspiration from that. But yeah, and picked out some things that they did, and then tried where I could to incorporate it while keeping it, me. Because I don't like to just straight up rip off, other actors, unless it's for a bit. Maybe sometimes it's for a bit. We'll mess around, right? We'll have fun.
It's okay, man. Sometimes you gotta mess around, have fun while you're doing this stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right, now we're coming to your part. You've been talking about the Red Ranger all night. Kizuna Red, the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. Now, how did you approach the balance between heroism and vulnerability?
Oh, fantastic question. The heroism we kind of talked about, right? But to reiterate, I knew how, like, just as soon as I saw it, read the title, I knew how we needed to get this character. He was very much like, he is over the top, he is cartoony, he's a Power Ranger. And I guessed at that cartoony part. I guessed at that, but that's actually true. They actually make fun of him in the manga about it. His friends make fun of him. They're like, "You're the only dude who talks like a anime character," and he's like, "What are you talking about? I don't talk like any kind of anime. It's just him." So, doing that over the top stuff was fairly natural, and we just really leaned into that. But switching to particularly those last two episodes, right? Where it does get real, all of a sudden gets extremely vulnerable, and you're really learning about this guy, which apparently, and I'm not super familiar with tokusatsu, but apparently that's a super standard tokusatsu trope. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, cool. I didn't know that. So we get to this scene, and I'm like, okay, I got to be real serious. And I'll tell you a little bit of a deeper story with that, because I knew that scene was coming on episode 12, right? And this is where you draw from the life experiences, man. I mean, I straight up pulled from the scene where I'm carrying Silver, right? And she's dying in my arms and stuff. I pulled that from a family member that I had who passed away not too long ago, and seeing them in the state. It's all good, dude. It's all good. But I pulled from that, and really delved into it. And I mean, that's what you have to do. I think you have to inject that in there. And I think it's a disservice if you, maybe not a disservice. I think that's a little harsh. I think you're only going to enhance your performance when you truly pull from those experiences where you can relate. And I've said it way too much, not during this interview, but I've said it in others. I've said it to, friends, and like, I could not have asked for a better first lead role at all. And gosh, that those vulnerable scenes is just like, I mean, I would just think about, seeing it was my grandmother, just so that's out there. It was my grandmother passed away. She had like several cancers, and it's very bad. But I mean, I would just think of that, and I would think of the last times I saw her, and really get into that, really deep dive into that. And I think the other thing that I also pulled, here's me trying to really jerk your tears at it. I'm being like a little playful about it, so this isn't like the mood's all down. And I'm okay with it. But I also thought about uh, the fact that like my grandmother doesn't get to see this because I didn't. She passed away before I ever got in a crunchy, and like she passed away like I think 2 or 3 months before I got in, and so she's never she doesn't, I've never ever gotten to say like, hey, you can see me, on TV, or hey, I'm something I worked on and did a voice, and it's playing in movie theaters throughout the country here. And, I know she would have loved to have seen, you know, me succeed in that area. And, but that's the things, that's the tear jerking moments that I really pulled from, because it took that character from one dimensional of he's this happy go lucky friendship bonds Power Ranger guy to, oh, this dude actually is emotionally destroyed, and that's why he overcompensates so hard with bonds and friendship, and why he believes in it so deeply to the point where people, the characters in the show that don't know him, think it's fucking annoying. And it's like, there's a reason why he's like that. There's a big reason. He really did lose someone close to him. And that's what I highly tried putting into that for those last 2 episodes. Big time. But yeah.
That's true, man. I know there's sometimes, and this would be anyway, someone has like some kind of tragedy. I think Meili Flanagan is Naruto, from back then. She did something for that scene where Naruto met his mother for the first time.
Oh my
and
God.
I heard from the previous voice actors, they told me that her mom passed away. I think it was like a year ago, and she wanted to channel like that, tragedy into that scene with Naruto, because this was the first time that he was getting a chance to meet his mom. So she put out all the stops, heartbreaking emotions into this one episode, because this was really something emotional. And also, my condolences for Meili Flanagan's loss.
Oh man, I actually didn't know about that story. That hurts my heart to hear. Because I know what that loss is. And gosh, yeah, I didn't know that, but I definitely, I think the craziest part about it is my reaction to when you brought that up wasn't because I knew the story you were about to tell me. It was because I've seen that scene and it's hit me. Like I've gotten teared up watching it. I didn't even know that story. So gosh, it's wild. It's wild stuff. But yeah, man, you pull from these things, use that life experience. You can find honor in it, and that's what I try to do. That's what I've tried to do. I won't get too much into it, but with all this stuff I've done, like for me, it's always trying to honor, my grandmother's memory, and just doing more, just trying to make it as big as I can, purely because that's how she thought of me. She always would talk to me about like she was this Southern, East Texas Southern grandmother. She's like, Ethan, she's like, Ethan, I'm telling you, you're gonna do something amazing. You have such a beautiful gift for music. He is, very heck and all this jazz, right? She would always talk to me like that. And of course, like she was also someone that raised me heavily post once I had mentioned how my parents eventually got divorced, right? And so they were both my mother and father were Air Force, and so we lived South Dakota. I think we were stationed in South Dakota, and then we moved back down, and we lived with my grandmother for a couple years. Well, shoot, more than a couple years, several years. And so, there's a lot of things that I learned from her. I learned how to paint. I learned about sewing. I can't sew, but I did learn about it. Gosh, it's just where I got a lot of my Southern roots. And yeah, I mean, I wish I would have been a little quicker to get into this professionally, but it is what it is, and life happened the way that it did for the way that it did, and here we are, right? And you get appreciative of what the things you do have and the experiences that you can draw from. So that's what I would say about that.
Of course.
Mhm.
Oof, that's a really touching story you told me there, Ethan.
You're all good.
I never got this deep into a voice actor's life like that. You know, I only spoke to like some, you know, they like I never had a stories like yours told before in this whole
Mhm.
podcast before.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah, I try not to get too in depth because you can get really into it with though any of those stories like that. But
mm,
I feel like I was able to give you the gist, especially with the question of how you've presented it. So, but I appreciate it.
yeah, of course. And listen, like I always tell my voice, if there's some things you just don't want to talk about,
Sure,
let me know and we'll just keep the train moving.
100%, 100%.
So we're at the end of this we're almost at the end of the section. If you could explore one of your characters' backstories further, which would it be and how?
Ooh, I think it's a good one. Gosh, now I'm trying to think about it. There's also like some other characters I can't talk about yet, but uh probably I think my last lead I did, Narihiro Takeru, because we really I think on the last episode we do get to kind of or not the last episode, but it's like episode 4 or 5 we get to hear him talk a little bit more about like his parents and and all that jazz. But I feel like knowing how he was as a kid, or what his like seeing him with his family, his parents, and why he has as many his family mottos that he has. Because we, I remember we had a theory about his family mottos when we first started. Is like me, the director and the engineer. We all three of us we had these theories about why he has all these family mottos. We thought they weren't real. We thought that he made them up to to like cope with something. We weren't sure what, but no, they're real. They're actual family mottos, and it's like, well, that's really cool. And I would love to see like where does that come from? If you see we're in the last episode when we get to see his parents, like, and we see them talk and like move and stuff, they look so fucking cool. Like they have cool hair, cool designs. Like I would love to see, where does he come from like that? Because he's, as far as we know about him when we first are introduced to him, he's this, I think he's high school, right? He's this high school guy he's a punk. Uh he's very reminiscent of the old, I'm not gonna, the time period, I'm not gonna remember it exactly, but think uh kind of like gangster, like Japanese gangster, or not yakuza, not yakuza level, but like in there was a trend in Japan. I want to say 80s. I might be wrong, but in school, both middle school and their equivalent of high school in Japan, where a lot of the more macho boys would wear their hair in the pompadour style, like think Josuke Higashita, right? They'd wear it like that, and uh, Takeru doesn't have an exact pompadour, right? But it's a similar style. It's a similar like street macho, and that's how he acts too. He's like, no one ever beats me. I'm due to my motto, I'm literally undefeatable, and I think that's really cool. I would love to see kind of more of that past of how he is the way that he is today, outside of, well, I lost my parents, so all I have is are these mottos, and I fight for this girl that I see in my dreams. Because apparently he's seen this girl that's been this girl of his dreams. He's seen her over 2,000 times in the first episode, and it's like, was a little more than that. But like before that, he would see her in his dreams like every night. Well, that's weird. We know why eventually, but like that's cool. Like let's see that a little more. I guess I'm curious to see his more macho attitude in the real world. I guess I don't know if that was the real world. That show left me with a lot more questions towards the end than it did answers. But I loved it. I thought it was a very fun show to do. I enjoyed all the fight scenes as well.
Of course, man. And it's, it's nice that if you can, the reason why I ask is because I know down in the future there's going to be tons of more opportunities, and maybe the studio could provide more backstory to those characters that you voiced so far. We just don't know how far we get as the years progress.
100%. And that's it's a David production original, so there's no manga or anything. Like it's just the show. So I don't know. I know they're going to be more. I think they're going to be doing part 7 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. So I think it'll be a minute before they get to that.
Wow,
which is impressive.
I'll be ready.
I know, right?
All right, we're at the conclusion. It's been I did say we would get to 10:30, so now it's been 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
You're like my third 2-hour video. Wait. No. Third 2-hour video consistent of voice actors.
I like it.
But it's been great. It's been some we have some like deep internal questions and conversations. And I think you've enjoyed our talk so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I hope that's the impression I've been giving you, because I would hate for you to feel like he didn't enjoy this. I'm like, no, dude, this is fun. This is fun.
I always want to make sure my guests are happy here.
Yeah,
so hospitality.
100%. Hey, I like it.
So, all right, section 4, industry insight and advice. Number 16, representation matters. How do you see your heritage influencing opportunities or visibility in anime dubbing?
How do I see it? Like just in general
like influencing opportunities or visibility in anime dubbing.
Sorry, the clarification. Like me or just in general representation within the anime industry?
Oh no, just you, your heritage.
Okay.
You.
No, I'm good. No. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting like too broad or not specific enough.
No.
Yeah, no. I mean, I tell you, I think, and I think I've discussed a little bit with some of the prior questions, but the whole thing of being even a mild inspiration for I mean, I'm always gonna celebrate that. I think it's awesome that someone can find connection with that and be like, yeah, this is really, especially like I've seen several posts, when the time comes of like, Asian Heritage Month, and it's like, that's cool. That's interesting to be thrown on with that, because for me growing up, that's just not remotely how I saw myself. I didn't even, I mean, I never saw myself as like a white person or Filipino. It was, cause my heritage is a mix of like Irish and Filipino, and it's always just kind of been, I don't know. I've always just been me. I've always tried to keep it in the confines of like the things I'm interested in and what I do. And but those that find that inspiration and really advocate for that. And I wouldn't say I don't advocate for representation. I think representation has done great things for our. I mean, we just talked about like, or I say just talked about. It's like what 2 hours ago, but 2 hours ago we talked about. I think a fantastic example is like Gachi Akata, but pushing for that, we've really been able to see a lot more talent just out of nowhere that come in and like dominate, and it's because they're fantastic. I don't think it's because they were of whatever particular race or ethnicity. However, depending on the character, that definitely has elevated their ability to, like, especially like with Mauricio. We'll use Mauricio because we talked about him, right? Like, you know, when he comes in and plays a character that has more of a Hispanic origin or heritage, or the character is just straight up Hispanic, he's gonna do a lot better than like me, or, you know, someone who's not Hispanic. And the reason why he's just gonna do better is just because he knows that culture, he's familiar with it, he's Spanish speaking, you know, it's something he and I'm not trying to speak for him on it, but I'm sure he heavily relates to. And you know, I think those things are awesome. I think when it comes to myself as using my own heritage, it's been a little more difficult just because I really am not that knowledgeable. Knowledgeable. I didn't grow up in the atmosphere, unfortunately, and so it's me learning, you know, and me trying to surround myself with more people that are familiar with that culture. So it's very much the case that I've kind of like you've mentioned for yourself, like, man, I'm just always trying to learn. I'm always trying to learn any and everything I can. But no, I do find it like, so that's the right, I don't know the right word. I think so I'll use a cheaper word because I can't think of something more complex, but I think it is really cool. I think it's really cool seeing people that admire my work also have an affinity for, you know, my heritage on top of that. I think they see that as like something to strive for themselves, right? Not being my heritage, but just they see someone that is in the position I'm in and feel, I guess, more confidence with it. Like, yeah, you know, I could do this, and you absolutely should feel like you can do anything you set your mind to. As you just have to be you. You know what I mean? As authentic as you can be.
Of course, man. You know, like I said, you know, I want to explore every piece of you guys and how y'all adapted to like your lifestyle into all these shows that you've done. Because y'all, like I said, y'all still human, and we want to see how your heritage links into the voice acting as well. And it's really nice, you know, because here's the thing: most fans won't even care about that stuff. Like, you have so many fans who don't even care about all this stuff. They just want to see you. They just want to get your picture taken. But people like me, I want to actually sit down and have a conversation about you guys.
Yeah. 100%. And you know, and even the people that don't, you know, they might not have a particular opinion about it. Like, you know, it's always how deep into what would you call it? How deep into the rabbit hole do you want to go with these things? I mean, heck, when I started doing when I started watching anime, I mean, I didn't think about the voice actors. Like, that never came to mind. It was always just like, oh my god, I love Soul Eater, I love Ouran High School Host Club, I love Fairy Tail, Sword Art, you know, keep going down the list, right? I love these shows, and then eventually it went into these are some really cool behind the scenes videos that they used to do for some of these shows, and like blooper reels. Oh my god, I loved blooper reels. I love those so much because I've done blooper reels before for some of the indie content I used to do back in the Gap. But like those were always really fun to listen to, and so you know, it's like, well, how deep do you want to get into it? And I don't think there's a wrong or right answer, but it's always cool to meet people that really are highly invested, because it's a passion. It's literally it's a passion of whatever particular content that they like, or activity they enjoy. You know, it's passion. I love it.
Exactly. I say keep doing your passions. You're doing a great job, Ethan. I think you are. I know you're still a beginner, but you're still making things work no matter how tough it seems. So keep going.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna keep
No.
it going as best I can.
That's all you can do. Let's see. How do you connect with fans of your characters while staying grounded personally?
Well, I think I've been a bit of a novice in that. I think I've been a bit of a novice in that because I haven't done any appearances, right? I haven't done any like physical appearances like conventions yet. I am looking into it. It's kind of tough to really decipher. It still is a little tough to decipher if that's even something I should do. And what I mean by that is, is it too soon to do it? But that's a different conversation. But the interactions that I have had with people that admire with them has typically been online. It's typically been online, and you know, I've always, I think it's never been an issue to keep things as grounded and even professional as need be, just because I've had jobs where you do that anyways. Especially as a veterinary technician, I mean, you're talking serious stuff, right? So, and especially with clients that are maybe they're overt and sharing too much information, or sometimes they're just straight up angry with y'all, and they're a little hostile. Now, obviously, fans, admirers aren't hostile necessarily, but when it comes to those that do interact and they're very positive and they get very excited about speaking, I mean, I interact where I can, and usually it's a hey, they're like, congrats, Ethan. I'm super excited to see you in this. It's a hey, appreciate it, and I do. It's not some generic thank you for me. I don't know if it ever seems like that to people. I doubt it, but for me, it's like, no, I mean, you took the time to say congrats, and I'll take the time to say thank you. I try to answer every congratulations. I try to. I don't get them all. Some of them do slip the cracks, but I do try to show that appreciation where I can, and I'm not sure how I will react whenever I do meet that fan in person. I mean, I'll keep it as grounded as I don't feel like it's going to be a huge issue, or it'll just be new is what I'm getting at. The experience will be like, especially if it's a very excited person, I'll be like, cool. I'm really happy you enjoy it. I actually, I'll tell you this. Check this out. This is funny to me. So it was on a weekend, and I was laying down tanning. I was tanning by my my aunt's pool, and all of a sudden I get a call from Nassim. I get this phone call, and except it wasn't a phone call, it was a FaceTime. I'm like, this is a little unusual. He doesn't FaceTime me. He'll call me, but FaceTime's unusual. But he FaceTimes me, so I answer it. This dude is at a convention, and I forgot he's at a convention. He's at a convention, and he goes, hey, man, I got someone here that's a fan of Red Ranger. And then he flips the camera over to the dude. And I'm like shirtless. I mean, nothing inappropriate is like showing on me, but like I had my shirt off, and it's this kid who's I don't know how. I think he's like 20. He's not a kid, but I think he's like 20 years old or something. But he starts going off like, I love Tokusatsu. I loved you in Red Ranger, and it was kind of hard to hear him, unfortunately, because of the venue he was at was very loud, and and I told him, that, hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you are that passionate about Tokusatsu and Power Rangers, because that stuff is really cool. The Tokusatsu side is really new to me, and it's kind of goated. I'm not gonna lie, it is really cool, the action that goes on in there. But I just told him, hey, I appreciate you being a fan and enjoying the work and the content. Thanks for stopping by Nassim's booth, and you have a good day. Take it easy. You know, it's very quick. Like I think it was like a 15-20 second interaction, very short. And then Nassim turns the camera back around and is like, you know, I gotta go. Thanks, man. Thanks for answering the phone. I was like, no problem, Nassim. Thanks. I like had the camera. I was like, thanks, Nassim. I appreciate it. Take it easy.
That was funny.
Yeah, man.
That was funny, man.
I think you just you treat people as normally as you can, you know. Dude, just have your humbleness and I that's the best way I've ever handled it is with humility and grace, and that's the best I can do with it, and have fun, right? You know, to make it a fun experience for them as well. But you know,
Of course, man. Always listen. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
absolutely,
Always. With 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up, man. I know it's been a long night, so
Yeah,
but
no
like
issue,
you said, you're an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What's one piece of advice you give to aspiring voice actors about finding their own voice in the industry?
Let's see, because I want to pick. I want to be very particular.
Take your time, man.
Yeah, because there's very generic advice you can give, but I think I'll give you this advice. This is this I think is very. I think sometimes it's underrated, but it's the most realist piece of advice I ever got, and it's the most truest advice I've ever gotten and have seen through to fruition. Mastering your own voice, your actual voice, the way you speak right now. Now that includes, like, if you're like me, which I've kind of turned it off because we're talking about this, but like if you're like me and you typically talk real Southern and you have a lot of you're stuck in that and you want to, I don't know, get out of that. I don't think getting out is the best way to look at it, but like master your own voice. You have almost no one, I say almost, but basically no one has your voice. You have the only voice that you're going to have, and no one else has that, right? So get that down. Know how to have vocal control as well as like breath control. What's your breath game like, bro? Like, can you do a long scream? I had to learn the hard way if I could do a long scream or not. Have 2 screamy rolls, like, or gosh, like that's how I had to learn. But you know, like those are for real things, and at the same time, like, can you I mean, play with your voice when you're wanting to create something new that isn't your voice. After, let's say, you've mastered your own voice, I mean, the best way to do it is, like, let's say I don't know, you're driving in your car, right? If you can drive, if you have the ability to drive, is like, make up a funny voice, dude. Watch stuff, imitate things, right? Remember bad impressions on purpose, bad impressions of characters, right? Or even like singing. If you're more of a singer like me, you know, like, do it. I mean, get goofy, because you're really going to find out what your voice can and cannot do. And that goes with the idea of mastery of your voice. Majority of the roles I've ever done professionally have been with my voice, with very minor tweaking. I think the most slightly vocally demanding thing I did, I'm not counting screaming stuff. Screaming is vocally demanding, but I just mean like where I'm really having to switch my voice up, was with Jade, was with Seventh Prince. And we talked about that earlier, but like, yeah, he starts out a lot higher and then he gets like real gruff depending on the scene, and he's screaming and all this jazz. But like, for real, that is not majority of the case. Majority of the case, you are typically doing your voice to some capacity, or not. Sorry, most capacity, and with very minor tweakage. You have a unique voice. Learn to use it. Master that thing. I'm telling you, it's gonna be your moneymaker.
Yeah, you just gotta use the tools in your toolbox. Use what's available to you.
100%. A lot of people, newer act. Well, I wouldn't say newer actors. Well, shoot, yeah, I don't know. Newer actors, people that do want to get into this stuff, they might conflate an impression, like a real straightforward impression of someone. Like heck, I think since I was like 16, I've always had a Peter Griffin impression, right? Holy crap. Yeah. Like I've always had one, right? But I've never used that in anime. It's never happened, right? Like, I've never used that. It might, but I don't know. I've never used it. But you know, some people conflate that, and it's not that that's not cool. That's just its own thing. It's its own thing. Majority of the times, you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be using your own voice with maybe minor tweakage, right?
Right.
So master that. That is my big piece of advice.
Always, and remember, nobody's perfect. Don't try to be something. Try to do something that you're not. Everybody has different goals.
Mm-hmm.
Make it work.
100%.
So, all right. Last question.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, what's next for you, both in voice acting and beyond?
Mm-hmm. Well, for now, it's and some of the things of what's next, I like legally cannot say, right? But in terms of like expectation, I mean, I really am not sure. It's tough to say. I can't, it's hard to guess what you might get into or what you won't, voice acting wise. But I am trying to expand where I can and learn more and continue to do anything that I might be called in for. And that's about as much as I can ask on the specifically the acting side. But I've mentioned prior, like I'm looking at the idea of conventions. I don't know if I'm ready for it yet. It's very tough to say. Not sure. I might just have to do it and just do it once or twice, see what it is, and I go on from there. Maybe that's the play, but I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah, don't rush.
Yeah. That's a great catchphrase I use a lot too. I haven't used it here, but why the rush? There you go. Second piece of advice. Why the rush? But yeah, that's how I've felt about conventions. I was told I should start doing conventions immediately after I got Red Ranger, and I was like, I have no idea if that's the play. I don't know. I mean, maybe I could have, but I didn't feel like it was. I didn't feel like I was ready, so I didn't do it. Even with my second lead, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know. We'll see. And then as far as that goes, like outside of the acting, beyond, I think I'll just continue to work and save money and try to spend time with family when I can, and enjoy those little things where I can. That's kind of it. It's hard for me. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to. You okay? Like that. That's my plan. Enjoy until things blow up for some reason. But that's funny. Definitely put that in. That's absolutely funny.
Okay.
Yeah, cut that in, editor. But yeah, I think really it's just continuing on the path, continuing on what I'm doing, continue building that craft, getting better, and who knows what goes on next. I'll tell you this, to give something a little more definitive. I have been wanting to uh, you know, bring back more of some of the stuff I always enjoyed when I was a fan of anime and stuff. And some people do it now. Some people do it now. Like they stream, right? They stream, some voice actors stream and stuff. And I don't know about streaming per se. I wouldn't say I'm much of a streamer. Maybe one day I'll get into it. But I like a lot of us really like Blue Lock, right? A lot of us like that anime. We love our Blue Lock, and my little friend group is everyone in there likes Blue Lock. So
there you go.
Some of us are in it, but not all of us. And Devon's one of those people, right? He's in it. He plays Otoya. Yeah. And so and we have Yusuf Benelbar, who he plays Durai on the U20 team. But we kind of, all of us want to get together and we've been playing FIFA. We play a lot of FIFA together, although recently a lot of us have been busy since FC 26 came out, but like we're big into it. We play the hell out of that game, and we play the clubs. We play clubs, pro clubs, and hell, we hit elite 3 times in it. So we're looking to do that again this year and for FC 26. And I would love to record it. I'd love to get some footage for it. And I edit sometimes, and when I have the free time, I do edit. And so I would love to put that in there and see how that goes. Have people like it's me, Mauricio, Ben Stegmeyer, Jordan Dash Cruz, Yusuf Benelbar, Alan Lee, he's been acting for a long time, but one of his most recent and prominent roles is Mystery Saja and K-pop Demon Hunters. Alan's a great guy. I love that dude. We got trying to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Did I say Devon? Yeah, Devon. Like, we have this group, and we're just friends, but I think we've all kind of talked about maybe doing something like that. We're not completely sure if we will send it, but I would like to. I think a good amount of us would like to, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Hey, you never know. Just keep pushing forward.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up. I learned a lot from talking to you, Ethan. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I just want to pick your minds. I just try to figure out what's going on.
Did you like how I fell? Like, did you like my graceful fall?
I was like, dude.
It's like, is this a bit?
Yeah, I was like, watch that first step. It's a doozy.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, I'll make sure. Well, listen, I think the way you've been talking, I know you got stuff planned ahead. You're doing, listen, even if you're in a small place right now, you still got bigger things ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
you do.
And I think too, it's not even, I don't think I'm in a small place with it. Like, in my opinion, I think it's just that there's plenty of stuff I don't know. I just don't know, and so I try to keep that open mind, and I'm quite thankful for the things I do have, because it's I feel like it is quite a lot, and I'm quite proud of the work I've done, and I'm excited to see what's ahead, man. I mean, heck, I just got Gachi Akata, and I play like he's not a big character. He's named. It's Shikage, and I'm excited to see where he goes in the future with it. I mean, we don't know much about him, so that might be a super cool role down the line. But I'm still just as grateful that I even got to be in the show. I didn't know if I get to be in it or not, so this is very fun.
And like I said before, endless universe out there. We just need to start breaking it down and know where we need to start looking.
100%, man. I agree.